right, I'm trying something a little different today. I'm going to do a live first reaction to the TWAB that just went live about 5 seconds ago. By live, I mean this is my live reaction to it, not that I'm streaming this, because I don't know how to do that and couldn't learn in the last 30 seconds how to stream on YouTube. Maybe someday, but not right now. I was going to read this and then just do more organized thoughts, but I thought I would read through at least what seemed to be the relevant parts and kind of live react to it. So here we go. This one's by Cosmo, as we knew before, and the only thing we know for sure is that it is going into weapon buffs for next season. This week at Bungie, we set the starting line. Season of the Chosen is starting to wind down, and we are preparing to transition into Season of Redacted. So apparently we are not getting the season name today. Splicer is the most rumored one, but we'll see if that actually pans out. Well, things are winding down. Many of you are still on the path to finishing your seasonal challenges. Yeah, I definitely gave up on that. Well, some activities have come and gone. There's still ample time for you to complete challenges that require longer time commitments. Nightfalls have double rewards. This week for those on the hunt for sweet legendary rolls. Next week, Double Infamy will help you finish up the In It for Infamy challenge. Yeah, I am way behind on all the Gambit challenges. There's like kill 40 Primevals, and like considering how many games I lose before the Primevals even come up, yeah, no thanks. Guardians can now complete the final seasonal challenge week. As part of Bungie rewards, you can redeem the free Thrill of the Chase emblem as you complete the Master of All Triumph. I forgot there's an emblem. Whatever. I'm going to wear my fashion emblem, you know that. This week we'll be focused on upcoming weapon buffs, as well as setting the stage for Vault of Glass World's first race. Okay, so we are getting a date. All right, and that is coming up right here. Ready, set, raid. In case you haven't already heard, Vault of Glass is coming to Destiny 2 for the first time next season. And though we haven't revealed Season of Redacted yet, I'm going to say next week, probably next week at resets. That's usually how these things go, if I'm doing my math right. We want to make sure you have time to make any necessary arrangements if you're planning on taking the challenge of getting a Vault of Glass clear on day one. Vault of Glass will go live on May 22nd at 10 a.m. PDT. So that is like a week and a half after season launch. Yeah, I think that's right. So less than a month. That's right, Guardians will be going up against Atheon in less than a month. Okay, spoiler, Atheon is still the final boss, so they haven't changed him for some sort of story reason into a giant wyvern or something. The story isn't changing. Oh, okay, story isn't changing, but you may notice other differences. Our goal is to keep the feeling similar to how you remember, but we have made some updates to bring this content up to Destiny 2 standards. We don't want to spoil anything, though. Experience it for yourself starting May 22nd. Okay, so this has kind of been the question. They said it was too easy if you went back and ran it with Destiny 2 kind of gears and supers and classes and stuff, so they had to make it harder. And then this answers my question that Vault of Glass is not going to be integrated into the storyline. I thought for something that big that they would actually kind of feed it into the actual storyline of the season, and it's been a while since we had a Vex season, so that seemed possible. This also gives more credence to the Splicer theory, because that would indicate a Fallen focus season, and maybe Siva, and so that would be entirely separate from, you know, the original Vault of Glass storyline, and they're not giving us a reason to go back and into the Vault of Glass. It's just straight up a quote-unquote memory like we have with the last two strikes that got added last season. I don't know if I love that, but I can expand on that later. I don't know if I like everything returning with old story beats only, but it is better having that content than not. It's a race. World's first races have been exciting events over the last 7 years, and well, we first kicked things off with Vault of Glass back in 2014. Back then, no one really knew what to expect from this highly challenging cooperative activity. There was mystery and excitement in the air that set the stage for all future races to come. With this being the first raid returning from Destiny Content Vault, we asked ourselves, how do we recapture and reimagine that moment? Our goal is to not fundamentally evolve this raid into something completely new. So this will be the first race outside of previous hard modes where players have a broad understanding of what to expect while still encountering challenges they'll have to adapt to. All right, now we have all the rules. Yeah, this is the big controversy about, like, is this a real world's first race? If some people have never played D1 or run it, like, does it count? I feel like there's like 80 people in the world that actually care about the semantics of this, and I've never really thought it's a big deal to make this a world's first race. I don't know. I just, it's not like you can't go and learn all the mechanics of it now if you want to. Like, you can literally still play it if you want. You can watch videos. So I don't know. Whatever. It counts. All right. With that in mind, we're shaking things up with a new type of world's first race. Vault of Glass will launch with contest mode, enabled for 24 hours. No surprise. You will need to be at 1300 power to be at the cap for all the encounters. That should be Wait, what's the cap now? I don't know. I think it's because they're not raising the power cap, so that should be fine. We're at 1300, like 1310 now, right? Yeah. Clearing Vault of Glass with contest mode active is the first step to access the new challenge mode in the Director and Tempo's Edge Triumph. All right. Completing Tempo's Edge, a curated list of triumphs in this newly unlocked challenge mode, will be how a fire team crosses the world's first finish line and claims their prize. To enforce the triumph requirements in the challenge mode, your team will wipe if you fail the success conditions during each encounter. Okay, so this will be essentially like they're going to have raid challenges live right at the beginning. I assume those will kind of be similarly formatted to kind of the challenges we have now, where you just beat encounters in very specific ways. I guess you can use your imagination what might be kind of integrated into Vault of Glass to make it work. But also there's going to be new stuff they add that may surprise people, I guess. What prize? We decided to make a belt for the occasion, but also wanted to respect the Guardians who were the first to be victorious 7 years ago. These belts will have a silver aesthetic and will have the clan name of the OG World first team featured. I kind of love that. That's a good compromise, I guess. Challenge mode of the Temple's Edge Triumph will only be available for the first 24 hours, and then that node will disappear. The encounter challenges will become available later in the season. We have a full array of raid rewards and Bungie rewards associated with Vault of Glass, as well as an emblem available for completing it. We'll cover all of the details on how to get them soon. One quick thing to call out is that the opening area of Vault of Glass will now be a private space for your fire team, so don't expect any backup from wandering Guardians. You won't be able to abandon the mission and explore Venus, as tempting as that is. There's only one way forward, and that is into the vault. Okay, they kind of said this before, where they said Venus wasn't coming back as like a patrol space, but I did wonder if like some chunk of Venus was coming back, but this appears to be an entirely separate, completely blocked off instance, which makes sense because if this doesn't have anything to do with the storyline, like there's no reason to bring back maybe a couple sections of Venus and have some Vex stuff going on in there. So I guess that makes sense. I still don't fully know how I feel about bringing in D1 content kind of almost exactly how it was, same story beats, all of that. I guess there's barely any actual dialogue in Vault of Glass, but it's still a little weird. So, okay, so those are all the Vault of Glass things. I never do World's First Races, but I will certainly watch this, and I will run it so I can get all the new gear. It looks like they're not talking about reprisals of armor and weapons and what those might look and feel like in Destiny 2 versions, but you have to imagine kind of all the old favorites will be returning. Linear Voop rifles. All right, now we're getting into something with Chris Proctor, the weapon feature lead, about changes to the Sandbox. I will skip down to his actual talking here. This is from Chris. Hello everyone, it's great to be back. First, I wanted to share how we think about weapon rolls, with heavy weapons in particular. We intend each weapon to excel in one or two areas, making them optimal choices in particular situations. Based on target type or engagement distance for heavy weapons, this is how we intend to fill the roles of add clear, single target damage, and burst damage. Explanation of roles. Add clear, clearing weaker enemies faster than you could with a primary ammo weapon. For most content, primaries do the add clear job perfectly well, so this is most useful in high difficulty PvE, such as Grandmaster Nightfalls, where you sometimes benefit from the rapid fire damage of a machine gun or the group clearing potential of a rocket launcher, especially with chain reaction now. Single target damage, burning down a boss. Burst damage, burning down a champion quickly, or for bosses with multiple damage phases, clearing a phase quickly. Oh, I never knew the difference between those. Alright, how weapons map to roles. Sword. Ammo, efficient to add clear, single sustained target damage, secondary burst damage, at the cost of being next to dangerous target. They did say sword, they didn't say third person weapon, which is what I was looking for. I'm still holding out hope for my exotic hammer, but rocket launcher, burst damage, secondary add clear, not boss CPS, interesting. I feel like in the new meta they can be, but sure. Machine gun, ammo efficient add clear, secondary single target sustained damage. We expect to adjust machine guns in a future season. They're currently not hitting this target. No, come on, just do it now. Wow, you guys, what are you waiting for? Machine guns have been underpowered like in this context for so long now. Okay, linear fusion rifle, single target sustained damage when the target has a handy crit spot, secondary burst damage. Drum grenade launchers, burst add clear, secondary single target damage. Exotic snipers, single target sustained damage where the target has a handy crit spot. Then they kind of go through, I don't know if I need to read all this, but like different situations in which you might use some of these in a GM and kind of how they feel about it. So they go into their balance philosophy after this and say there are two approaches. Big swings are when they make a big change that will immediately encourage new player behavior. Most useful when we need to nerf or buff something hard enough that everyone can tell it's happened, with the exception that we may need to dial the tuning in a later release. Examples, the 120 hand cannon buff in Beyond Light, which is being dialed back, or the rocket launcher buff in Season of the Chosen, which was awesome and hopefully not being dialed back, and they don't say that, so we'll see. Incremental changes, take something that we feel isn't far from where it needs to be and nudge it a little at a time. Most useful when we don't want to overcorrect and make something overpowered, or when we don't want to make a change with huge test wake and prefer smaller, safer changes. Example, the precision auto rifle change outlined below, yay! Or the Season of Arrival's high impact pulse rifle change. Yeah, I don't love that. I feel like pulses aren't good as much anymore. In most releases, we make changes of both types, in which we choose for a given feature depends on how much time we have to test and iterate on a change and how many changes are already in release, and how close we think a feature is to being balanced already. They talk about fall off distance. I am not smart enough to probably process that. Okay, so precision auto rifles are being buffed. This subfamily fell behind other auto rifles in auto rifle tuning last year, so damage has been increased to be closer to the kill time of others. It is a single damage increase per bullet of 450, so we can all go and test out our shadow prices to see if that one damage tick has made them god tier. I don't know enough about the game to say if that is going to be game changing or not. My guess is no, but this is one of those small little changes they just talked about. Rares, all right. We added a rare machine gun and bow, but we didn't have any linear fusions or breach grenade launchers, so they wanted to add... Yes, if there's one thing they need, it's definitely more blues. I'm so excited that there are going to be even more blue types dropping for the exactly 20 minutes you need as a new player to move from blues to legendaries, so that's awesome. Okay, linear fusion rifles. Here's the big one. These are an unpopular choice in PvE, largely because other weapons do their intended job. Single target sustain damage better, more efficiently, without the requirement of landing all precision hits. We want to keep the LFR's focus on precision damage, but decided to increase the precision damage to make them more competitive and increase reserves to give them more staying power. Note that we've seen plenty of suggestions to move some or all LFRs out of the heavy slot. Interesting. But this is a substantial amount of work and balance risk for PvP. Yeah, I could see that for sure, due to the difficulty of balancing sniper rifles as instant shot weapons. Yeah, have you used linear fusions in Crucible? Like, imagine them with special ammo. Like, I mean, we already have Arbalest, and that was one that had to be nerfed a ton, so yeah, I can see how that would be a problem. Widely varying finch and aim assist values and reduce weapon diversity in the heavy slot. Remember when snipers and shotguns and fusions were all in the heavy slot in double primaries at launch? That seems so crazy now. I still can't believe that happened. It's still a possibility for some time in the future, though, if tuning them as heavy weapons doesn't have the desired effect. Oh, okay. Increase precision damage by 15%, increase reserve ammo by 20%. Okay, that doesn't sound like a ton, but I feel like, I don't know, if you can land all those precision hits, if you get like Vorpal and Bloodspec on it, I can see that doing well. Specifically, in some instances, I don't know if it will make them kind of a broad pick over other heavy weapons, but you know, we keep seeing swords in certain situations nerf 15% once and then again, and they're still being used, so will a 15% bump be enough? That is, how much was the rocket launcher about? Was it 20 or 30%? That was like a really big one, so that was like much more easy to notice. I do think linear fusions are a little better than people think they are, but now they'll be even better, and I don't know if reserves, I guess reserves can help, but we will see. So that's what their plan. It's not anything crazy massive, but you know, we'll see how it goes, and I would guess that they're going to introduce at least one linear fusion next season, although they just introduced one in Season of the Hunt and one in Season of the Chosen, so maybe not. All right, fusion rifles. The recent buff to fusion rifle ranges had the side effect of making the best subfamily for PvP even better, so we've decided to bring low-range stat fusions up a fair bit. That's like a Glacier Chasm and stuff, I think. So increased damage, fall off for fusion rifles, no effect on the 100 range stat, plus 2 meters on 0 range stat. Where's the PvE buff for fusion rifles? That's all I wanted to see. They're just buffing other types of fusion rifles in PvP mainly. I mean, that's fine, but man, I really want PvE fusion rifles to get a buff, and that kind of is sad. Now, I guess that's all the weapon archetypes, so we are moving to perks. Subsistence. When we made this perk, we were experimenting with the with unusual downsides for powerful perks, but ultimately decided that reducing reserves wasn't an interesting trade-off. Correct. We also wanted to be able to put the perk on special and heavy weapons where reducing reserves would feel terrible. Yes. So machine guns were granting a much smaller magazine fraction than auto rifles, so we fixed that at the same time. Oh no. I should not have deleted all my subsistence SMGs. Crap. That could be really good now. Okay. No longer reduces reserve ammunition. That is also a huge buff to SMGs because those really ran out of ammo fast. I gotta go farm a, whatever it's called, extraordinary rendition. I've deleted all of my subsistence ones. Crap. So machine guns now receive the same ammo fraction per takedown that auto rifles do. Was 10% like most weapons. Now 70% same as auto rifles. That it's probably at least an extra round per kill, a round or two. So that seems like a big buff. Okay, high impact reserves and under pressure. Due to technical constraints at the time these were first created, the trigger condition for these is on projectile impact. The bonus won't take effect until you fire the weapon once, but we have more flexibility in perk activators now. They are now active as long as their conditions are met. Wait, those didn't even work on your first shot? What the hell have I been doing with my high impact under pressure fusion rifles this whole time? What? Okay. That explains a lot, actually. All right, so now I guess that's kind of an indirect buff to fusions again, probably in PvE or PvP. So, unrelenting. This is hard to trigger in difficult content, and the health awarded was hard to perceive. Yeah, I could never tell if unrelenting was working. Now easier to trigger in PvE, immediate trigger on majors, and heals 20% more. I'm curious to try that out. I mean, unrelenting has been a pretty trash tier perk for a very long time, but I guess there's only so much they can buff it until you just have like a Suros, so we'll see. Sympathetic Arsenal isn't appealing enough for many players as it is, but is useful in niche situations, so we decided on a small buff to sweeten it a little. It's good on bows, but there's probably better bow perks. Now grants plus 20 reload in addition to its primary effect. Okay, we'll see. Dragonfly. Yeah, DMG told me there weren't any Dragonfly buffs. So technically, all right, he's technically right, but it always bugged us that Dragonfly wouldn't proc on every enemy you could finish with a precision hit. Now works in heavy shanks and servitors and occurs even faster after the season of the Chosen fix. Was there a fix? Did Dragonfly get a fix? I must have missed that. I guess that's a tiny, tiny buff. He seemed to imply it was going to get buffed later because the damage right now is just terrible. Hipfire grip. We're being careful not to overbuff this, since when hipfire is too effective, it changes the game significantly, especially on PC, where hipfiring is super easy most of the time. So we're just bumping this a bit more of the Season of Arrivals buff to make it more useful. Plus 1 degrees precision hipfire angle threshold, plus 1.2x reticle stickiness fallout distance. I will ask firing range what that means. 1 degree doesn't seem like all that much, but for reference, the hand cannon aim assist cone is 2.5 degrees. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. It got a little buff. It'll be more accurate and have more aim assist. Got it. Okay. Iron grip, iron gaze, iron reach. Okay, yeah, okay. These need some help. You're cautious of making the stat bump perks in Season of Arrivals, not wanting to break weapon ranges at too low a cost, but penalties these shipped with were too much now that we've seen them in the wild. Reduce secondary stat penalty from -40 to -30. Okay, I still think like at least 2 of the 3 of them aren't very good, but whatever. Osmosis and elemental capacitor. I remember people were really excited about osmosis, but that didn't really go anywhere. And elemental capacitor does not work on stasis. Well, they fixed that. Browsing ahead, they do. We didn't have time to address this when stasis came into being, but always wanted them to work correctly when playing a stasis subclass. Okay, they're both about stasis. Osmosis now switches the weapon to stasis damage when playing a stasis subclass. This should work for any mechanics that ask for stasis damage, but not for stasis ability damage. Okay, so yeah, sometimes you need like stasis kills to get like those fragments from Ada or whatever, and that was really annoying, but now I guess you can use your primary infused with stasis damage, interestingly. There's a stasis VFX for all weapon types that osmosis can appear on, more coming later. So this is like, they're introducing stasis as a weapon damage type at some point. I didn't think that was this season, but this was kind of a preview of that. Elemental capacitor with the stasis subclass grants plus recoil direction and reduces ADS move speed penalty. Is that like handling and recoil? Okay, I guess we'll see how that works, but I've never really loved elemental capacitor with most of those other bonuses, so we'll see if it's better with stasis. No distractions because of an exotic change below, and the sniper rifle flinch changes in Season of the Chosen. We wanted to make no distractions a more appealing option for combating flinch. Reduce trigger time from 1.5 to 1 second. That's pretty good. And increase flinch reduction from 30% to 35%. Okay, sure. See how that goes. Celerity and Bottomless Grief. We already talked about this. Thresh, it works in PvP. You already talked about that too. That change is already live and not a bug fix. Okay, I don't think that's anything different. Mods, Adept Mag, Adept Targeting. They reduced the secondary stat penalties a little bit, and Adept Mag now applies to a sword. Adept Counterbalance, they made that better. I think I have that. I'm pretty sure. Exotics. Meta Multi-Tool. Well, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. We've seen many requests to switch this from Outlaw to something more useful, and one thing we've observed is meta losing fights to weapons that cause more flinch, so here we go. Change Catalyst perk from Outlaw to No Distractions. Follow-up question, is the Catalyst in the game right now? Because I thought you couldn't even get it anymore, and I would love for it to not be behind Legend of a PvP mode almost no one ever plays. That would be great. That does not appear to be changing. Hawkmoon, increased priority of paracausal charge and paracausal shot buff text. This was sometimes dropping off the bottom of the list. Okay, sure. The future. Oh man, sometime further into season 14. Oh, okay, so still in the same season. We expect to touch on the following. All shotguns. We don't expect the change to 2 dominant shotguns, replacing quick draw to surplus, and nerfing quick draw to really move the needle on shotgun usage overall in PvP. Yep, that's exactly what I thought, since a lot of people just run around with their shotguns out. We agree with some of the comments that weapon usage is not only dependent on tuning, but map design is also a factor. However, we want more weapons to be viable on all maps, and we can achieve this through tuning, giving other special weapons room to excel. Specifics coming later. Okay. So we already got fusion rifle buffs. I don't know what else that means, so we'll see. Dead Man's Tail. With the upcoming nerf to 120 hand cannon range, we expect to see a surge in Dead Man's Tail usage, which is already high. We had enough moving pieces in Season 14 that we didn't want to try to squeeze this in at the same time, but we have a change ready to go that reins in its ability to challenge sniper rifles, 120 hand cannons, and scout rifles while in hip fire without detracting from the fantasy of the weapon. Well, that's ominous. Fusion rifles, as with some of the other changes, we don't want to bump these too much too fast, so we'll follow up and need it. Buff them in PvE. Good lord, please. Please buff them in PvE. Maybe they'll get a... what's it called, an anti-champion mod this time, because I think they're up for one after we had unstoppable shotguns and anti-barrier, whatever it's called, snipers. So maybe they're going to be like overcharged fusion rifles, which I feel like that's a terrible perk for fusion rifles because they'll teleport in between your charging. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so now we get into something that I may skip over. This is just kind of fixes and Bardi and Bungie Games Awards, weekly known issues, and guess what? I think we're going to get through this without any talk about Transmog. All right. The Guardian games are ongoing, and Hunters are off to an early lead boosted by their superior numbers, but the bonuses continue to stack. The daily races are getting closer. We saw Warlocks take their first Guardian Games W on Wednesday, and we couldn't be prouder, quote unquote. Will Warlocks winning Wednesday mark a turning point, or are Titans taking Tuesday only a matter of time? Maybe it'll be Hunters who put a stop to all this wordplay. Only time will tell. There's still 2 thrilling weeks left, and it's anyone's game. Less than 2 weeks to go before we usher in a new season. Keep your eyes peeled for more info next week. Okay, so yep, unless I missed something, they did not comment on Transmog at all. I expected them to at least be like, we heard your feedback on Transmog, like, at least like, okay, we want to just see how this goes with the current system, like, if it sucks, we'll change it, like, something like that. I didn't expect them to be like, we're removing the cap, like, instantly. That just never really seemed like a realistic thing that was going to happen. So I don't know, I can go keep ranting about that, I guess, since they're not actually changing anything. And in the end, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this grand list here. I mean, the Volta Glass stuff is whatever. I'm not talking about that. But the weapon buffs don't seem super major. I think the perk buffs are almost more interesting, like the subsistence stuff and high impact and unrelenting. I'm kind of more curious to see how those go because, like, I don't know, 15% buff to linear fusion seems extremely specific, and then a 1 tick damage on auto rifles is so tiny that I don't know what that's going to do, even if they want to, give it some time. And then fusion rifles are only getting a little lower range stats. One's buffed for essentially PvP, and there are no PvE buffs for that. and they are not doing machine gun buffs yet. They kind of, promise future changes in maybe some different categories, but we don't know when that will happen. We don't know what those will be, and this is like one of them. One paragraph is just like a dead man's tail nerf, so get excited about that, I guess. I don't know. I don't think there's anything like super, that stands out here to like get hyper excited about. I guess I'm curious to try out linear fusions, but there doesn't seem to be anything like really standing out to me, like the rocket launcher buff or things like that. And I don't know. I guess we can see how it works in practice, but no buffs to 180 hand cannons, and no further buffs to scouts. Like nothing. They're not doing anything with bows. Like there's just very little actually changing. Like there are a lot of perks changing, but there are very few actual weapon changes other than these and a couple we've heard about, like the 120 hand cannon thing. So I don't know. Between that and then no talk about Transmog at all, I don't know how much I love this. Next TWAB is probably going to be all about the season itself, since it'll be, I think, around like a week or so to launch, or a week and a half to launch. And they'll probably do a reveal tease or something next week around reset. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know. It really seems like they're playing it safe, and I don't know if that's what the game needs right now, especially in PvE. And most of these, a lot of this still seems pretty PvP focused. So yeah, I wish they would kind of go nuts with some changes sometimes and do those big swings as they talk about. But well, that took a lot longer to read than I thought. So this might be one of my longest videos ever. And here's OBS here, so you can see all my fun settings. And yeah, I guess that's the end of it. And I'll probably have more to dissect with this tomorrow. I'll have an article about it. Just kind of pop up from Ill Physics that he's now playing Apex Legends, which is kind of a metaphor for I guess what we just saw. That's pretty funny. Anyway, those are my kind of initial reactions to this. Not super thrilled with things, and then complete silence on my personal pet issue, Transmog, which does not feel great. So that does not appear to be changing at all ahead of next season. So yep, stay tuned for, I guess, season reveal probably next week, and at least some info about it will probably drop. So yeah, thanks for following along with this. If it's boring just staring at a bunch of words, I apologize. I don't really know how to do this, but I just thought I'd give it a shot. So yep, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.